So the chairman's stepped out, so I'm going to take the gavel and call on myself. So I appreciate this hearing, and I'm assuming that all the witnesses are supportive of what we did 4 years ago, which was actually a long-term FAST Act. It was a 5-year authorization. Prior to that, there had been 36 short-term reauthorizations, which I don't think anybody regards as helpful. Do you all agree that we should be working on another long-term reauthorization in terms of highway transportation? I see noddings of all the heads.
We look forward to continuing to work with you.
Okay, good. Let me ask a couple questions that relate to, one of the things that I'm going to be focused on in this reauthorization is the permitting streamlining, which I know Secretary Chow has been very focused on. It shouldn't take 8 years to build a bridge or to permit a bridge in America, 19 years almost from planning to construction of our highways. We need to fix a broken federal permitting system. So we're going to continue that. I know the Secretary's focused on that, but the hearing here is focused more on safety, which is appropriate. Mr. Sabatz, I want to ask you, in terms of the consideration of grants to be distributed by the Build America Bureau, you might know, but a lot of the members of this committee are also members of the Armed Services Committee. Does the agency take into consideration the role that commercial ports play with regard to national defense, in particular Department of Defense designated strategic ports such as the Port of Anchorage? And should Congress consider this during the reauthorization of the FAST Act? As you know, a lot of our commercial issues are deeply integrated with regard to our national security issues.
Senator, thank you for that question, and thank you for a question that touches on my previous role in the department.
That's why I asked you.
I assumed that you had an ulterior motive, sir. But I was 7 years as the Executive Director of the Maritime Administration. I think, as you're aware in asking the question, there is no statutory authority for the department to consider the strategic nature of the ports.
Do you, though? I mean, whether you need the statutory consideration or not?
It's what we would consider to be a plus factor when we look at it. Should Congress wish to make that a mandatory factor, that would have to be done statutorily.
Do you think that's a good idea?
That's certainly an issue that we would look forward to working with you, the committee staff, or the committee members that are interested in this to find a way forward.
Okay, good. Well, I look forward to working with you on that. If you view it as a plus factor, I think most of us view it as a plus factor, and maybe getting it in statute would put an emphasis on that. Ms. King, I want to follow up on a couple issues that you've talked about in the questioning. You mentioned the education materials and public education campaign for impaired driving, particularly with, drugs beyond just alcohol-impaired driving. Are you focusing that in particular with regard to states like Alaska, or I was just talking to Senator Gardner, Colorado, that have legalized marijuana? Is there an area that you're focusing on to help those states in particular?
Our initial work has been driving public education with respect to marijuana impairment, because we have found in our market research that users feel that they drive better.
But do you focus on states that, there's certain states that have legalized this where there is more activity there? Have you given thought to focusing in those areas?
Yes, we have actually first traveled to Washington. We later traveled to Denver in Colorado to have meetings and learn from them and learn best practices.
Have you traveled to Alaska yet?
I have not yet.
I look forward to seeing you there soon.
I would look forward to that. But we're sharing best practices. One of the things we find is the states who have been early legalizers of marijuana products, like Washington and Colorado, they have a great deal to learn. Other states that were early medical marijuana adopters, like the state of California, also have something to share. And so we visited places, Iowa, New Jersey, other places. We just had a meeting in Florida.
Can I get your commitment to get to Alaska soon? We have these issues, and I think it's important.
I would love that. Thank you for the honor to do so.
Great. Let me ask a related question. Senator Schatz was talking about in terms of bicycle traffic fatalities. We also have a big community, a cycling community. The municipality of Anchorage and Bike Alaska, they have a program they've put together called Vision Zero, which
Yes.
is working on a coordinated approach, data-driven, to have a public education, best practices, as you mentioned, with regard to these higher fatality rates and injury rates for bicyclists. Is NHTSA doing work with local partners like Vision Zero to identify best practices, what you're learning, and how do we get involved in that at the local level? I think it's really important that you're learning from them and they're learning from you.
Absolutely, and one of the advantages of the local community groups working through Vision Zero or Road to Zero, which are more of international learnings, is that the solutions can be best adapted to local conditions. So for instance, the infrastructure needs might be a part of it, public education or traffic patterns might be a part of it. So all of that can be incorporated and encouraged for adoption in local laws where the local jurisdiction is stronger. NHTSA is supportive of all of those efforts and welcomes any opportunity to support those efforts to drive local traffic safety.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.